What's poppin', Matthew?
What's poppin', Austin?
Well, I'm excited.
Me too. We've got a new movie coming out.
That's right.
It's an epic adaptation of an epic. It was shot in a lot of different formats, and
it was directed by Christopher Nolan. Friends, welcome to Popcorn Optimist.
Popcorn Optimist.
Hello, friends. My name is Austin. That's Matthew Whitfield, and welcome to Popcorn Optimist, a film appreciation podcast that believes the more context we have, the more likely we are to appreciate films. This is a series that we like to do about the week's new releases, and it is called... Think of Cinebills as a contextual preview. When we go to a sporting event, a museum, a theatrical show, we're often given programs or playbills that help us better understand what it is that we're about to watch. And we don't get those when we go to the movies, and that's what this is. So, without further ado, please enjoy our Cinebill for... Starting off with facts and figures with the official logline, after the Trojan War, Odysseus faces a dangerous voyage back to Ithaca, meeting creatures like the Cyclops, Polyphemus, Sirens, and Calypso along the way. The film is rated R, it runs 172 minutes, releases July 17th, 2026, and is distributed by Universal Pictures. And moving on to the cast and crew, starting with the film star Matt Damon as Odysseus. Damon, known for co-writing and starring in 1997's Good Will Hunting, directed by Gus Van Sant, playing Jason Bourne in the Bourne films, and for a supporting role in 2023's Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan. The film also stars Anne Hathaway as Penelope, known for her Academy Award-winning performance in 2012's Les Mis, directed by Tom Hooper, this year's Mother Mary, directed by David Lowery, and the upcoming The End of Oak Street, directed by David Robert Mitchell. And Tom Holland as Telemachus, known mostly for the MCU Spider-Man films, 2020's The Devil All the Time, directed by Antonio Campos, and I'll name-check The Underseen The Lost City of Z, directed by James Gray. I love that movie. The film was written and directed by Christopher Nolan, more on him later, based on the epic poem The Odyssey by Homer. It was produced by Emma Thomas, more on her later. It was edited by Jennifer Lame, known for 2023's Oppenheimer, for which she won the Academy Award, as well as Noah Baumbach's Frances Ha from 2012 and Ari Aster's Hereditary from 2018. The music is by Ludwig Göransson, known for his Academy Award-winning score for 2018's Black Panther, directed by Ryan Coogler, 2023's Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, and 2025's Sinners, again, directed by Ryan Coogler. The cinematography is by Hoyt van Hoytema, known for shooting Thomas Alfredson's Let the Right One In from 2008 and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy from 2011, 2022's Nope, directed by Jordan Peele, and he's been shooting all of Nolan's films from Interstellar onward. And moving on to notes and Hearkens. Hearkens is a term that we'll return to later. Christopher Nolan was born in 1970 in London, England. He studied English literature at University College London. He chose UCL because they had a Steenbeck editing suite and 16mm film cameras, which is the most Christopher Nolan thing I've ever said. He was president of the Union's Film Society, because of course he was, and he, along with then girlfriend, now wife, and producing partner for the last over 30 years, Emma Thomas, screened feature films in 35mm during the school year and used the money earned to produce 16mm films during break. Thanks, Wikipedia. He got to start making short films like Doodlebug, which is on YouTube. You could go on YouTube right now and watch it. Starting with his first film, Following, in 1998, Nolan would go on to have a filmography that would be almost any director's dream filmography. He caught a lot of attention for his 2000 film Memento, a film that plays with time, a theme that we'll come back to often with Christopher Nolan's filmography. He followed that up with 2002's Insomnia, a remake of a Danish thriller starring Al Pacino, Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank. He became a global superstar with the Batman film starring Christian Bale, starting with Batman Begins in 2005, The Dark Knight in 2008, and finally, The Dark Knight Rises in 2012. He also made The Prestige, a film about dueling magicians, in 2006. He directed the dream heist thriller Inception in 2010, famous for some very cool action sequences, a lot of exposition, and this noise. He made the space adventure film Interstellar in 2014, the World War II film Dunkirk in 2017, which is really excellent if you haven't seen it, the time remapping thriller Tenet in 2020, and finally 2023's Oppenheimer, earning Nolan some of the highest accolades of his career. Nolan's talked extensively about his cinematic influences, including films like The Thin Red Line, directed by Terrence Malick, or 2001: A Space Odyssey, directed by Stanley Kubrick, Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott, the Bond films, especially On Her Majesty's Secret Service, directed by Peter Hunt, and films directed by Michael Mann. And I'm going to name check Thief, because a lot of people mention Heat, and Heat is awesome, but Thief is amazing. And I actually think that The Dark Knight owes more to Thief than it does to Heat. The Odyssey is obviously an adaptation of a Greek myth, which is interesting because we don't really see as many Greek mythology films like we used to. Classics of the genre include films featuring the work of stop-motion visual effects genius Ray Harryhausen, such as Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts. There are many Hercules films throughout film history, including the 1983 film starring Lou Ferrigno and the 1997 Disney animated film. There is an adaptation of the Odyssey from 1954 starring Kirk Douglas. There is an adaptation of the Odyssey's last section from 2024 directed by Uberto Pasolini and starring Ray Fiennes. And of course, there's Troy, the 2004 adaptation of the Iliad directed by Wolfgang Peterson and starring Brad Pitt, which doesn't really adapt any of the more fantastical elements of the story. Here's Nolan speaking to Stephen Colbert about what drew him to the project.
And Greek mythology, even though so many of us are familiar with it, from when we're kids, and the way in which it's the underpinnings of all stories, as you say, in Western literature, but it hadn't really been done on a big scale. I mean, I grew up with movies by greats like Ray Harryhausen and Clash of the Titans, things like that, but it hadn't really been done at a kind of a budget, big studio, throw everything at the screen and see what sticks kind of way.
The Odyssey is a huge story, and to tell it, Nolan utilized IMAX cameras. This is Nolan speaking to Fandango about using the IMAX technology.
So the first time we went to IMAX and said, "Can we use your cameras?" It was on The Dark Knight, and we shot Heath Ledger's introduction as the Joker, the bank heist scene at the beginning on IMAX, and that was the first time anyone had ever, taken those cameras and made a dramatic film from them.
Shooting in IMAX does present problems. This is Nolan speaking to Collider about the ways they went around solving some of those problems.
It creates an enormous amount of noise. We would always use it for action scenes because noise wasn't really a factor. We were building the soundtrack afterwards, but for dialogue scenes, that made it impossible. And so we challenged them to build new cameras and to build a blimping system that we could place an IMAX camera in and mute the sound of the camera sufficiently that we could shoot an intimate dialogue scene.
The theatrical experience might seem passé, but that's not how Nolan sees it. This is Nolan speaking to Scott Pelley at 60 Minutes.
People in the industry talk about their fear that theaters like this and giant screens like that are going to be part of history.
I think theaters like this are part of history, and they're part of the future as well. But the idea of the movie as a communal experience, as a place we come together to experience a story, I'm fully confident that's a part of our culture forever.
And finally, Hearkens. Hearkens is a term for a film that relates to an earlier film, and that's not really how the term is used, but my wife likes it, so here we are. Starting off with 2000's Memento, the film that broke Christopher Nolan into the mainstream. It's an amazing movie. It really, really does hold up, and it shows a lot of the themes that Nolan will go to play with for the rest of his career. And finally, Jason and the Argonauts, directed by Don Chaffee from 1963. Why watch it? Well, Ray Harryhausen stop motion is incredible. It's really, really beautiful to watch, and it really does have some of the coolest movie monsters that were ever captured on film. And I'll leave off with these words from Christopher Nolan. I'm the audience. That's my job. It's really difficult to pin down the job of a director, but really what the director is the audience. I'm there on set going, does this move me? What is this shot? Okay, now what's the next thing I need to see? How much of any of this you actually need to know in order to enjoy the movie? I don't know. Probably none of it, maybe some of it. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet. But I hope this information was fun to learn and that it helps deepen your appreciation of the movie when you do get to go see it. Please join us for our next episode where we will be discussing the new Spider-Man film, Spider-Man Brand New Day. And yeah, we're going to be talking about body horror.
Popcorn Optimist.